welcome Mr. Martin Rapaport, the chairman of the Rapaport Group, to the today's edition of AOJ Talk of the Day. Martin, my first question to you is, COVID-19 has been, I think, the biggest challenge we have ever seen in our lifetime, both in terms of health and in terms of economy. So what is your assessment of this crisis?
The COVID-19 crisis is unprecedented in that we're looking at a level of disruption we've never really seen before. We're looking at a situation where people are concerned about their lives. So we're talking about human security over here. We're not just talking about financial issues like we experienced in 2008 when we had that financial crisis. And we also, on top of this, a financial crisis because people are not leaving their homes, they can't shop, they can't do business, and it's affecting every aspect from the supply side to the demand side. And so what we're seeing is a fundamental, not just disruption, but a recreation of the diamond industry. We're seeing that the supply chain or the distribution systems are going to be changed forever. It's not like, we're just looking at a normal change and it's everything going to go back to normal. No, I don't think that's what's going to be happening over here. And so what we're looking at is a scenario where the initial change we're seeing are happening on the consumer side. People are staying home. They're not shopping. But it's also affecting the supply side as companies are not able to ship goods, have goods, handle goods. And so it's quite exciting in terms of the ways in which it's going to change the world as we go to the future. So if we're looking at the current situation, okay, we're all stopped up. That's something which is total. But what's going to happen after this? Where are we going? What is the new world going to look like? And I think it's important to consider, like, for example, in the area of digital, the digitalization, digital markets, digital changes. Until now, it was kind of consistent. We were going up. It was a change, and everybody was getting used to it, etc. Now we're in Star Wars mode. It's like you push a button, and it's warp speed. And boom, we're somewhere else. And when warp speed stops after this thing, we're going to look around, and we're in another environment. We're in another world total. And we can look at the diamond mining sector, which is shutting down. We're going to be very restrained. We can look at diamond manufacturing, which is shutting down in the short term. We can look at diamond distribution, which is going to go much more digital. We can look at how consumers are going to have different social values. More people will get married. More people are going to have relationships after being in isolation for so long. So I'm looking at a new world with a lot of opportunity, by the way, but certainly a new world. So it's not just like a V change. Okay? We're talking not even a U change. Maybe it's an L change. Maybe it's a whole other way that the world is going to behave post-coronavirus.
Right. All right. So my next question is coming from India. India, we have a lot of factories which is on cutting and polishing, predominantly depending on exports. And we have seen right from the month of Feb, the China was shut down, the Hong Kong markets were shut down, and now we see the Western countries, Europe, the US, shut down. So I'm sure the Indian cutting and polishing will be taking a big hit in this scenario. But what do you see this kind of a global diamond jewelry demand coming back? During what time? It takes 3 months, 6 months. What's your view on this?
Well, clearly demand is more important than supply in the current scenario. So we expect China to be coming back rather steadily, but not that quickly. Look, they're coming off of a very low base of zero business.
Right.
So now they're starting to do better. And we do see some demand. We even see some demand for branded jewelry.
Right.
Not that much. Hong Kong, which was a very important sector, has had a fundamental problem in travel. Don't forget, Hong Kong, basic business, a little bit like New York, there's a lot of tourists, a lot of people coming and going, and that's all stopped. So I don't know that the demand side is going to pick up as fast as we would like. So we're not talking about a V-shaped recovery, and I believe, in terms of demand. And don't forget the major market as well. The U.S. is still, ahead of them in terms of getting out of the virus, maybe reduce a lot of the restrictions in terms of lockdown. America is still just in the middle of this, and I think that India is maybe still in the beginning. But let's talk about demand. America Well, China first, then America, and then hopefully even India. India is an important center of diamond demand as well. Now, I imagine the demand is going to start relatively slow, but it will be coming back. And now the question is going to be, how are we going to deal with this demand? And what are we going to emphasize? And how will we market it in the new digital era? There is no question that the demand for diamonds and the way we sell diamonds is going to change significantly, particularly in the United States. Consider the fact that Signet is now really down to maybe a $400 to $500 million market cap. And they've got after $2 billion of debt. So what's Signet going to do? Are they going to keep buying diamonds like they were? No. Is Signet going to be selling diamonds? Possible. Right. And then what happens to the whiplash effect? So what happens when retailers are not buying as much as they were because they're contracting? They have a lot of inventory in their stores. And this is what we saw after 2008 or even after 2011 when China had that slowdown. And so that's going to mean a lot less orders for polished diamonds from wholesalers and dealers. And so I think that's something we really want to hear, that it's going to change. And those that can change with it, so people that are selling diamonds efficiently and well over the internet, they're going to do very well. And we're going to have to really be thinking. You know, I saw something interesting on one of your seminars about virtual jewelry and how you can show jewelry online. I think that approach is very interesting, and I was quite excited to see Indian companies being in the forefront of that. So we need to think that way as we find new and better ways to sell diamond jewelry to consumers.
Right. I'll come back to you on that online and e-commerce. But before that, there has been a recent development in India where the diamond largest trade body, GJPC, and the Bharat Diamond Boards have appealed to the members to stop buying fresh, to stop importing rather the fresh rough, so that they can kind of cut down on their inventories and it can reduce the pressure on the diamond prices. So what's your view on that? Is it a good move to cut down on importing rough till the things improve?
I think the rough diamonds are a disaster. And I believe the rough diamonds are a disaster, first of all, because of their absurd pricing, which guarantees no profits. And this whole issue of buying rough right now is absurd. It's not only is it pouring fuel on the fire, because the last thing we need right now is still more polished inventory to sell. And so this mentality, psychology of buying rough at high prices, this has to stop. And obviously putting an embargo or asking people not to buy rough and not to manufacture rough is an interesting and a good move in terms of the entire diamond industry. However, what about the people that are cutting the rough?
Right, and here, what are the jobs? Yes.
Yes. Here we have a fundamental problem for India. India is the #1 world manufacturing center for diamonds. Right. And about 93% of the value-wise of the world's diamonds are cut in India. Right. Now, unfortunately, that has been the downfall of a lot of the aspects of India. India, due to easy credit policies, has been paying unacceptable, I should say, unsustainable prices for rough, which ensures that there's no profitability in the diamond distribution system. So obviously that has to stop. Also, the idea that you'd buy rough instead of polished is bad. People can sell polished diamonds today. They should buy polished in the market, support the prices for polished by buying polished. So the idea of the GJPC and others to say, let's not buy rough diamonds for a while. Okay, I think that the social consequences of that for the diamond cutters, the diamond, the smaller diamond manufacturers, you know, it could be quite disastrous. And I hear already that a lot of people in Surat are gone to agriculture, and they may not come back, and maybe they shouldn't come back, because the role of diamond manufacturer needs to be somewhat curtailed. Look at where we are today. We are oversupplied in terms of diamonds, and this is before the coronavirus came up. This is before that all happens. The irrational exuberance of people buying rough and too much rough at too high prices. So that's put the industry, put India certainly behind the 8 ball with problems. So we have to wait, but I do think we have to curtail. I'm sorry that it's going to really hurt a lot of these smaller people, but it's time maybe for them to look at other ways to make a living. And it's also time for India to maybe manufacture less diamonds.
I agree with you. It's a catch-22 situation. But what we also hear is that in the Indian pipeline, there is still a rough available for 1 or 2 months. So they will be opening with a lower staff, with maybe 25% working force, and gradually things we are hoping to improve. And also at the same time, even your diamond rough mining companies are facing a lockdown, shutdown. So even that supply will be lower. So you all are. It's a very evolving situation as far as I see this. Moving to your diamond price.
I want to say something. The Indian diamond manufacturers need to flatten the curve. In other words, produce their diamonds slower and less people, and maybe give the diamonds, sell the diamonds, or give the diamonds at reasonable prices to the smaller manufacturers, so they can retain a viable manufacturing sector, but slowly reducing, not a lot at once. So I think that might. But I think after 2008, there was a 3-month hiatus on rough import.
True.
And rough prices went down 50%. I am not concerned about the mining companies. They have been bleeding the diamond industry mercilessly for all of these years. So if they have to shut down for a while, I think it's healthy for them and it's healthy for everybody else in this industry. So I'm not concerned about them. I am, though, concerned about the entire middle markets and what happens. And understand also from the diamond manufacturing context, the majority of the diamond are manufactured by, what, 100 firms?
Yeah.
I don't know if people are really manufacturing large amounts of diamonds. But there's about millions of people that are making their living in the middle industry, in the middle sectors of the distribution pipeline. And they also have not had the opportunity to make profits. So this lack of profitability is something that it was before coronavirus, and I hope the coronavirus stop it. And I am calling on the other mining companies to drop their prices by 50% at least, like they did after 2008. And the reason isn't to punish. The reason is so that there is profitability in the diamond distribution system. Because without necessary profitability, it will be very hard, if not impossible, for smaller, medium-sized companies to survive and to grow and to prosper as we come out of the coronavirus.
Right. Coming to the prices, Martin, in your March, in your Diamond Rapaport price sheet, you dropped the diamond prices suddenly by 6 to 7%. Few diamond dealers worldwide seems to be upset. There's like controversy, boycotting. What's your view, and when you think your next price sheet will come, and what's your take on the reduction in the March price sheet?
Well, first of all, my heart goes out to the diamond manufacturers who are experiencing a very difficult time. But I've got to be honest here. When it comes to the values of Rapaport, our first value is to be honest and ethical, even if it means we lose money, even if it means we lose business. And so number one is prices went down, not on the one day of March 20th, but leading up to March 20th. That means from January even to March when we talk about fork grainers or other things. Okay? Price went down. And it's very unfortunate that the responsible people in the diamond industry think that they can stop someone from telling the truth by threatening, by boycotting, by doing all kinds of things. Our ethics are more important than our income. So we are not, we're sad. And the truth is I feel bad for these guys. I feel bad for people who are in a situation with a lot of inventory going into coronavirus. And Rapaport's telling the truth about diamond prices coming down. So number one is diamond prices came down before March 20th. And that's what our price list reflected. The second point that you should consider is that we have to tell the truth. You can't have a scenario where discounts go to 55%. I'm not going to sit here and protect the diamond industry by lying to the buyers. Also, I'm going to be in a situation where the Rapaport price list is fundamentally dishonest. Diamond prices go down and we don't because we're being blackmailed by boycotters. No. That's not the way Rapaport works for 42 years, and that's not the way, with God's help, we're going to work for the next 42. We tell the truth no matter what happens. Now, I'm sorry. I feel bad for the suppliers, and I'm compassionate about them. And I really feel I have to have empathy, and I really would like to do what I can. But the role of Rapaport is not to be playing music as the Titanic goes, or as we march everybody off a cliff. My job is to tell people what is really going on, even if it's painful, even if it results in a lot of anger. Finally, look, I understand that people are emotional. And this hate campaign, I'm sorry about it. But I guess, you know, Bill Goldberg was the president of the New York Diamond Dealers Club in 1982 when they threw me out of the club, and I had to wear a bulletproof vest for 2 years because we went down with prices when prices actually collapsed. And Bill said to me, he's interesting, he threw me out, he's still a friend. He said, Rapaport, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. That's what he said to me. Now, we know that diamonds are a heat sink. And it's one of the interesting physical properties of diamonds. They put them in spaceships for that reason, is because they absorb heat. Okay?
Right.
And Rapaport now is apparently some kind of a heat sink for the diamond industry. And it's not new. What do you think happened in 2008 with the World Federation of Diamond Bourses announcing, and, you know, and attacking and all that? So I'm sorry. I'm really sorry for all the difficulties that people are having. But our job is to tell you what's going on and to honestly communicate prices. And being honest about diamond prices is more important to Rapaport than money.
Right. So what exactly are the factors, Martin, which you consider while arriving at the Rapaport price? It's still a kind of a mystery, right? Your prices. Could you share some insights on the factors you consider?
Sure. First of all, we're looking at asking prices. There's three kinds of prices. There's asking prices, there's bidding prices, and there's transaction prices. When one looks at the market, for example, with transactions prices, someone can buy $10 million and pay one price. Another person can be selling diamonds out of New York with 90 days of credit. And another person could be offering diamonds on memo, and the sale doesn't take place unless the actually consumer buys. So the bundling takes place. When you talk about transaction prices, puts those prices all over the place. But what is consistent is asking prices. So we today look and say, at what price can you put a diamond on the table? And let's say we can put a diamond on the table, a D-flawless, for $10,080, which happened to be the case.
Right.
Now, we look at the Rapaport price list and we say, hold it a minute. That's 55% below the Rapaport price list. Now, should we go, what's the normal percentage? And so we got very concerned as we saw the discounts skyrocket to unprecedented levels. Okay? Now, so one of the things we looked at is asking price. At what price can we put a diamond on the table for people to buy? That is a fundamental factor we look at. And another factor that we look at is what's the discount level? Because at some very high discount level, we can justify a Rapaport price list, which is in fact a platform price, or it's a numeraire price, what I call it. It's a benchmark price. At some level, we cannot justify a benchmark price if the discounts are so high. Now, it's very important to understand the Rapaport price list is useful as a benchmark price because everybody can use it. So the umbrella is high enough for everybody to fit under that umbrella. But now to say, well, we are so greedy that if prices go down, we suppliers insist that you keep the prices up higher than they should be to 55, 60% discounts. Well, Martin Rapaport says absolutely no. So we don't feel we made any mistake here. What we've said is we're being honest, and unfortunately, the diamond suppliers cannot take honesty. And so the fundamental issue here is one of transparent competition. Does the industry want transparent competition? Don't they want transparent competition? Can they stomach it? And I think that if we want diamonds to be realistically priced and we want to be able to have some confidence in it, you can't shoot the messenger. So I think that's one last point here is, how about the buyers? I don't work for suppliers only. The Rapaport price list is not just for suppliers. What about buyers? Why should I lie to buyers to make the suppliers feel psychologically good? I'm sorry. Again, I feel for the suppliers. Don't get me wrong here. But I have to create a scenario where buyers have confidence in the benchmark price so they can buy diamonds. Woe to us if we get into a situation where the Chinese come back into the market and keep saying, well, I'm waiting for Rapaport to reduce the price list. I'm not buying until that. Or if we live in a world where they say there is no price list that makes sense because Rapaport's a liar. when prices go down, he doesn't go down. So I don't have a choice. It's not like, oh, I can then I'll go up or not go up with the prices. I have to reflect the reality of the situation. And I'm hopeful this. I feel very bad for the suppliers. I understand that they're psychologically upset and and all that. But realistically speaking, we have a job to do. And unfortunately, we're a heat sink, and there's this tremendously strong attitude of blame Rapaport for coronavirus or anything else. And by the way, the prices you saw on March 20th did not reflect the changes that are taking place in the coronavirus. I want to make that clear. Those were price changes that happened before coronavirus. Okay? Yeah, right. So we're looking at the trend that was set well advanced of coronavirus. Okay? And now we have to look and see what's going to happen with coronavirus. We don't know yet, but we will be doing an auction with Delivery Hong Kong for certified diamonds on May 18th. So we will be doing an auction on May 18th, and that's going to be a good initial indication of where the new prices
are. Thank you, Martin, for the comprehensive answer. And I believe because of this lockdown, because of this unprecedented time, you have suspended your price sheet. So when you see the price sheet being resumed in coming months?
No, let me say this. We pushed off the price sheet during the coronavirus because there was no trading. And we saw trading before March 20th, but we saw that it was very quiet. So I said, okay, let's everybody have a breather. We are now publishing the Rapaport prices on a monthly basis.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll be due out next week. Okay. On May 1. And then we'll be doing it on the last Thursday of every month. Okay. So we will continue as can be. And we will also be introducing the Rapaport trade sheet, which will be restricted to the trade. And that's going to show the actual discounts. So we're actually going to be providing more information, not less. And that's going to be weekly to the higher level subscribers and to RapNet members. So there's going to be more price information, not less. But the price sheet itself will be coming out monthly.
So interesting. So you'll have one weekly trade price sheet, and you'll have your monthly, the Rapaport price sheet, which used to be a fortnightly rather, right? So these are changes you are going to come out with.
Yeah, but the different price sheet is a benchmark price, which is a higher price, which is designed to cover the whole market. So a dealer can use it, a retailer in California can use it, someone in China can use it, rough people can use it. It's a benchmark price, which is very different than a discounted sheet, which shows the actual discount. So the trade sheet is going to show you the discounts. Right. It's going to be very transparent. And
interesting.
Yes, it's going to be very interesting. Yes, indeed.
Great. So I have now last couple of questions. One is that your favorite subject, the digital and the e-commerce. So how do you think in this current scenario, one thing is for sure, the e-commerce and digital is the future. But let us say the diamond dealers, retailers, and the whole stakeholders, how should they leverage the trading platforms like, say, RapNet or even other Amazon and all B2C various platforms? So what is your message to leverage digital in this current scenario?
We've spent a few $1 million on a program which we're launching in the next few weeks called Instant Inventory. And what this does, RapNet, and it populates retailer websites. So there's thousands of retailers out there that want to offer for sale. And so what we're doing is we're creating an environment where you can actually put your diamond on the retailer's website for the consumer to see. We think that's... It's okay. Oh, what happened? Okay. So instant inventory will put diamonds, your diamonds, or people who are working with RapNet, onto the actual retailer's website for consumers to see. Now, this reaching out beyond the distribution center using technology can be very helpful for people. We're also developing a system for being able to ship and being able to handle the payments for the diamonds. So a diamond person in Surat would be able to reach out to a retailer as customers, actually, in Atlanta, say, or in China. So that's one big thing. The other big thing is we, with God's help, will be introducing the Rapaport Certified Diamond Auctions that will be taking place regularly and starting off on May 18th. Now, that's going to give everybody an opportunity to get liquidity. What we see is the tremendous need for liquidity in the market and some good pricing information. So by these auctions are going to be key because we will be able to deliver the diamonds out of Hong Kong. So delivery will be in Hong Kong, and being able to reach the buyers, reach the retailers, fundamentally important. So I do think that information and technology about what's available for sale, and not just putting information on a trading network for other dealers to see, but being able to use that information to drive sales, to drive business, to drive liquidity, that's going to be the key. And fortunately, we've been investing millions of dollars to create the technology, and it's going to be great to see it in operation. As we go, even today, RabNet members can share diamonds in social media. They can move them around. So not just having the information, it's what you do with the information that's going to be so important in the new digital era.
Wonderful. Nice to hear that. We look forward to this new digital initiatives. And finally, so how does Martin Rapaport spends his day during this lockdown? And what are the routines you follow? Just tell us something.
Well, I'm using paper napkins all the time. I'm sneezing or I'm coughing or anything. I've been home now for about 5 weeks. I've only left under I wear a coat and I bundle up and I wear a mask, and so I'm pretty careful. And I've been inside my home almost all the time for 5 weeks. So I'm pretty well. I have a son who's been manning the guard post, the door, to make sure no one comes in. There is an easing in Jerusalem, and there is an easing of some of the rules around here. So I think my wife has started to venture out, but I'm afraid of a second wave. Like some of these movies. At the very end of the movie, the guy comes at him with a knife again. So I'm afraid of that, and I think we have to be very careful. So I don't advise people to just throw off the burden and just run out there, because this virus has its own kind of intelligence. It's very dangerous, more so than people could possibly imagine. And you've got to be careful. So I encourage people to stay home. I know that we have 230 employees at Rapaport, almost all working from home, almost all. And anybody that does go into our Israeli office is open now with very limited things. India is shut down tight. Surat is shut down tight. New York shut down. Hong Kong, slight action already. But the rest of the world, Belgium, is now all shut down. So we're very careful. I would say that health is more important than wealth. Right. And I think there's a concept for people to understand. You cannot take risks with the people's health, with your employees' health, your own health. And don't chase the money. Money will come. Don't worry. It'll be. There's winter, there's summer, there's cold times, there's hot times. Money will come, money won't. Things will cycle. But health is something one should be very careful with. So I've been doing that. And then I've been working a lot. We are finding out that when people work at home, they're more efficient. And I've said to my teams, I said, listen, guys, let's keep this homework business. It works really well. And my team said, no problem. We're willing to work at home as long as we can send the kids to the office. So you want to know when things are really changing. Watch for when the schools open, because it's only when the schools open will people be free to come around and do things. So right now we might see some social changes. I mean, according to Boston Consulting Group, they have a short-term and a long-term estimate for when lockdowns will end. Their long-term estimate for India is the second week in September, everybody.
Right.
And that's a long U-shaped recovery to a certain degree. Now, critical businesses will be there. I think it's a great idea for India to export to Hong Kong. But we have to be careful. And I think India is doing the right thing. I think Prime Minister Modi is doing the right thing. I think that Maharashtra will find itself in a longer situation. But that's I keep health is more important than wealth. And I also think it's very smart for the Indian banks to push off collections until 3 months. I understand that is a good thing. I'm not a big fan of any credit for rough purchases. I think that's a mistake. Okay,
Right.
but I am a big fan of delaying payments so that there's no panic and there's no pressure on people to sell diamonds if they can just wait until the market recovers. And I do believe the market will recover, but carefully and slowly.
Right, wonderful. So this was one and only Martin Rapaport from his residence in Jerusalem. Thank you, Martin, for joining us and sharing your insights during these challenging times. Thank you.
Thank you also for all the good work that you do, keeping the industry together and providing vital information and all the wonderful seminars and webinars that you're doing. I think that this is a wonderful service and a tremendously important thing to provide the industry where you are bringing people together so much. And thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all your guidance. Thanks.